Good googly moogly, ladies and gentlemen. We're live.
We're actually live?
That's it. Actually live. It's that easy. We don't fuck around anymore, man.
That's pretty cool.
It's beyond cool. This video that you gave me.
Let's get right to it, Joe.
First of all, I love the characters, and I see a reality show in your future. I see a parody of like a Duck Dynasty type, Moonshiners type of situation.
Surreal
but
life?
far better. With music.
Okay.
Fuck it. Just genius guys who live out in the desert who just happen to make amazing music and be completely retarded.
And think they're a punk rock band.
No, that's fucking great. It's really interesting what you're doing. I love how you don't have any rules. You just do whatever the fuck you think is interesting, creative, and mix the two of them together.
Well, credit where credit is due. When it comes to working with Laura Milligan and Mike King, her husband, Laura's just like, she'll just go off on a tangent, and I'll just film it, and we just kind of go with it. So you pick the right wig for the right tangent, and then you just go.
I like what you did too, where you're mixing different styles of music. You're mixing like legit country music, and then some of the songs sound almost like Tool. Some of the sounds have like your same type of vocals that you would in one of your Tool songs, but it's just got this completely different extra vibe to it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility just because we are kind of a moving target. So when we start to kind of get inspired in some direction, we're not really confined to, I love Slayer, but Slayer's Slayer.
Right, yeah.
They're not going to all of a sudden put out a country record.
Yeah, no, that's kind of one of the cool things about, I really enjoy what you're doing, that you just do whatever the fuck you want to do. You don't have a box that you have to fit in. You're just doing what you feel like doing. Like, I would never expect you wearing a wig and playing this character and all. I mean, it goes, you write it too, man. It's not like you just like play it at the beginning. No, it fucking keeps coming back, and it's really funny shit, man. It's really funny shit.
Thank you.
What inspired you to make like a half country, half comedy, half? It's like it's just this.
I think just watching, I think we talked about this last time, like Monty Python movies.
Right.
They're just there's no, you can't really pin them down.
Right.
And like the meaning of life, just that's kind of how we did this new DVD. Is the whole documentaries at the beginning. When you go out, watch the DVD again, you can actually skip the documentary if you want to, but it was important to see the documentary and see, Billy Dee and Hildy Berger, so that you understood when they came back up later in the actual show, who the fuck is that? Like,
right,
okay,
right.
If you didn't see the documentary, you don't understand who those people are.
When you do the live shows, do you play the documentary first? Do you play?
Yep. Yeah, that's our opening band.
That's a great idea, man.
Yeah.
And the live DVD that you filmed, was that in Phoenix? Did you film it in Phoenix?
Yeah, Phoenix.
Still repping Arizona, baby.
That's where we are.
Have you seen there's been a lot of camera trap photos of jaguars. They're starting to cross the same paths from Mexico into the United States that the drug guys do.
Jaguar is the cars?
No. Jaguar is in the native North American giant cat.
Yeah. We have, like, I guess, are they called pumas, or they're
mountain
small,
lions?
Yeah, they're the mountain lions up around us, but I haven't actually seen the jaguars coming out.
Yeah, there's not that many of them, but they're starting to take photos of them on camera traps. Apparently, a long time ago, they were native species in North America. Now they're starting to make its way through your town.
Excellent.
Indeed. So, is winemaking season over for you now?
Yeah, I just wrapped up. Had a good year. A lot of interesting challenges. A lot of stuff that came up that I wanted to try. Stuff that was going to give me a hard time, kind of give me trouble.
Well, that's another perfect example of you just not fitting in a box. Oh, he makes wine. like you don't just dabble in it. You have a fucking vineyard, like a full-time set of employees, a vineyard. You produce an excellent wine, a bunch of different ones. Yep. It's really good stuff. You know what you're doing. You just threw yourself into winemaking.
Yeah, that's one of those, you could pretty much read the back of a yeast packet to figure out like what to do to inoculate fruit. But, to really actually learn how to make wine, you just have to dive in. You can go to, I suppose you can go to, a college to get all the nuances and be taught how to make wine with fear in mind. But, just dive in and make it. It's not that difficult to get over the first basic hump of like the 101s of it. It's not that hard. Then, after that, then it's like the nuances, the upper percent of just the intuition, instincts,
Do you mingle at all with the people in the wine world? Like, do you communicate with other people in the wine industry and go to conferences?
I've got guys on speed dial that I know that are world-class winemakers from around the world, and if I have a question that I think that they've seen the answer to, or seen that challenge, or seen that hurdle, I will not even hesitate to text or call or write or email or something, just to go, okay, so here's the challenge or here's the thing I'm going to try. And based on, the kind of fruit that we get, because the fruit we get is not like you would get in Napa or necessarily get in New Zealand. It might be more specifically like Adelaide Hills, but not necessarily the Barossa. So there's different stuff. Parts of Spain, maybe. Parts of Italy, maybe.
Do you do anything to your soil? Or do you just let it be what it is? And
for the most part, you have to kind of give give it some food now and then, some kind of nutrients that are not going to like cripple. You don't want to give it steroids or anything like that. But you want to give it something that it needs. If it needs a little extra dose of something.
So what do you do? Do you add like minerals or?
Yeah. Just if there's something that it's kind of short on. And
how would you know?
You take petioles. You take the samples from the plant. You take samples from the soil. We have, for moisture, we have a pressure bomb that pressurizes the leaf to see how much moisture it actually needs today.
Wow.
And you give it if it wants 10, you give it 9.
Yeah, that's a thing about the grapes for wine. They're supposed to suffer a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
It just gets them stronger. I mean, you train jiu-jitsu. That's there's suffering involved. You're not going to get anywhere unless you are pushed a little bit.
Even as a grape.
Even as a grape.
How many years?
Even as a celery, Joe.
Even as a celery. I see now. It all becomes clear. How many years have you been doing this now?
I broke ground around 2001, 2002. Made my first wine in 2004.
I find that absolutely fascinating. I've never once heard of a rock star who decided to not just make wine. Like, I mean, I suppose Sammy Hagar has a tequila, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much is he really involved in it? Is Sammy out there harvesting agave? Is he pressing it and
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. He's definitely not doing what you're doing, man.
No.
You're
I mean, because for me, I have my staff in the tasting room. So basically, come to Jerome, there's there's a staff of people that of course rotate. But we have Chris Turner's like my right hand man in the vineyard. I'm not a vineyard guy. I'm in the cellar. So Chris has his team of people in the actual vineyard, making sure that they all have their finger on the pulse of what I'm looking for in the grapes to make the wine. We have, of course, our shipping staff and the business affairs managers and stuff. But in the cellar, it's just my wife and I. It's just us making the wine, pressing the grapes, inoculating. So there's not actually a staff of people in the actual cellar because that's my house.
Wow.
So it's just us doing it. So I don't think people quite understand. Like, he can't make it. It's harvest. So one of his employees handle that. There's. I don't quite think you've been listening to me. There's nobody in the cellar but me. I mean, we have a couple guys. I have a friend down the street that comes up and cleans up after me. I have a guy that comes out at the beginning of the season because I'll buy some new equipment that I don't know how to use. I go, Greg, make that work. He'll go, okay, I'll read the directions. We hate reading directions, so I'll just have Greg figure out how to make that go.
How do you piece together a team? Like when you decide that you're going to start making your own wine, mm-hmm. you get a piece of land, you decide where you're going to grow grapes, you decide how the fuck do you piece together a team to create wine?
It's like anything else. It's hit and miss. You got to just figure out who has natural talent toward it, or is really are willing to do all the work, even if they're not even naturally. I mean, my wife doesn't. She's not a chemist. But she works the lab. I went, guess what you're doing? So she's like, I am.
So you're 9 years into production, essentially, but mm-hmm. 10, 11, 12 years into this project. Mm-hmm. Is this still challenging for you? Do you still enjoy it?
Yeah, because every year that I'm making wine on my own, previous years, like from 2004 up to about 2009, I had other people, I was kind of like looking over their shoulder and trying to be involved in doing it. But until 2010, like part of 9, but part of 10, until I was actually doing it myself, you're only going to learn that way. And so, that's just, you just dive in, basically.
Wow. And now, how many months out of the year does it take to do that, and then the rest you devote to whatever else, like Puscifer or anything else you feel like doing?
And anything else, yeah. Don't even look for me on August 1st. August 1st to November 1st, don't even look. I'm not around. I'm dug in.
So for 4 months, you're gone.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy that you're committed to this like 4-month project? That for 4 months you're accounted for. That's it. This is your life.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to know that I'm going to be sleeping in my own bed.
Right.
And it's it's hard work. You're up at I'm up at 6:30, doing punch downs and just checking things out and make sure everything's not something didn't blow up or I forgot to seal something so it's leaking or there's just those tragic things that kind of happen in the cellar that you look over and like the spout wasn't shut and there's like Pinot Gris pouring onto the ground. You're like, fuck. Bonehead move. Ran over and shut it.
It's such an interesting idea, but I love the fact that you figured out a way as a musician to guarantee that you're home for 4 months. Like people don't know, the musicians or comics, that fucking road gets sad, man. It gets so boring and it gets so weary.
It gets grueling. Your body just like as you go forward in time. There's no going back in time. And your back doesn't get stronger from the journey. It gets weaker.
Yeah, especially the travel. We were talking about a guy that that had a blood clot from an airplane ride and was feeling like shit. And I was telling you how I flew back from England and got sick. The flights, every flight is like going on a bender. It's like getting hammered. Every one of them is just like just wrecking your body, like and skidding in the home plate.
That was fun.
Stumbling into bed. It's very, very weary. It really beats you down. So then when that's over, November's done, do you just chillax for a little bit or?
Last couple of years, no, I would jump right into, doing some stuff with Perfect Circle or Puscifer. If the guys were ready with Tool, I would work with them, or maybe we'd go out and do some a quick tour or something. And that's only just to kind of, keep it alive, and because you've done some work that you need to kind of tidy up and do something with. Like we came out with conditions of my parole, and I had to promote that record, so I had to get on the road right away in November. That was a couple years ago. So.
And then between you add some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that was the fun part this year. It's like poor Matt Mitchell from Puscifer. He came out to like record some tracks with me, and I'm up at 6, 7 out there doing my thing, and then I would come in and like we try to like work on a song or work on some tracks, and he was helping record some stuff, and then I go, I gotta quickly destem this fruit, and then at 11:45 I gotta drive down the hill because I gotta go do jiu-jitsu from noon to 1, and then I'll be back up here at 1. Okay, I'll be here at 1:15. We can do a vocal, but then I gotta press the Chardonnay. He's like, who the fuck are you?
And he's known you from long before this.
Yeah. I toured with him. First time I met him was on Perfect Circle tour.
So what do these people think that have seen you pre-wine and post-wine? Are they like, did they think of originally like, oh, this is just his new thing, he'll do it for a little bit, and then it's probably, it'll last a year or so?
12 years later.
12 years later. How many bottles do you make a year now?
I did about, I'm horrible at math. This year I did about 6,500, 7,000 cases in my cellar.
Holy shit. That's incredible.
Yeah.
How many acres are you growing on?
In northern Arizona, right now I have planted 40, just under 40 planted, and only about 10 of those are actually producing at the moment. Southern Arizona, my sister company, Arizona Stronghold, I have access to fruit from our vineyards down there. So there's a lot of growers all over the state, and there's growers just over the border into New Mexico as well, just over from those counties. So there's also like kind of a mirror image terrain over in New Mexico with even more established vineyards than we have in Arizona.
So 40 acres you're planting on, but only 10 of them are you're actually harvesting fruit from?
Yeah, and probably by next year I'll see a little bit more from the other 30, and then by 2015 I'll see full production from everything.
How does that work? Do you have to do something to the soil? Do you have to just get the grapes used to
Plant
it?
it, and it takes you 3 to 4 years to see fruit off the vine once you plant it.
Really?
It's a commitment in time for sure.
So you plant it, and is it just a matter of it growing, or is it
Establishing? You want to make sure, and it all depends on what you're kind of going for. If you want to plant like tighter spacing, and set fruit a little earlier on the plant when it's younger, so it doesn't quite get big and it kind of like almost stunt its growth in a way. You get some really concentrated fruit on a smaller vine. But you've seen some that are like these huge old school vines. There's different schools of thought on that. You got guys that pull out everything in 20 to 30 years. They'll just pull everything out and start over because the vine might produce, an eighth of what it was producing when it was younger. And if it's not great, I mean, if it's like producing an eighth of that fruit and it's fantastic, just undeniable fruit, well, yeah, hang on to it. But if it's not, most guys are pulling it out, starting over.
Do you find that this whole
or rotating,
process, the whole process of creating this new thing and then getting involved in this completely new endeavor, does that do anything to the rest of your creativity? Do you find that it opens up new possibilities for other things that you create?
No, it opens up other stuff because it's a whole different kind of creativity. When you're in the cellar and you're just hovering over some of these wines, you're having to be kind of you have to have the technique down. You have to understand the process that you're going through, but you also have these opportunities to go, okay, I have to make a creative decision right here. There's a challenge that's come in. Something comes in extremely ripe that you didn't expect it coming in extremely ripe because the numbers were just all over the map. The sugars are extremely high, and it's just probably not even going to finish fermenting. It's so ripe. And then you have something come in that's a completely underripe, and you go, if I put these together, they're right. They're right at the right number that I want, rather than trying to finish something that's not high enough sugar and something that's way too high sugar. There's little moments like that happen that you just didn't expect and you can't plan. It's just chaos, and you just have to just navigate the chaos.
Were you like a big fan of wine before you did this, or is this just something that you just decided to slowly but surely step into?
I guess I had a great-grandfather who made wine in northern Italy, but I didn't know that until I was actually planting grapes.
Wow. So you just dove in?
Dove in, yeah. But I was into wine a little bit, back I lived in Boston for a while, so I enjoyed wine with my friend Kurt. He worked at a nice Italian wine shop, so he'd always bring stuff home on the weekends, and he would grill, and I would drink this wine, and, years later go, oh, wow, that was pretty, I think we're drinking some pretty awesome wine.
Yeah, I don't know shit about wine. I have a really good friend he's a real connoisseur. He has this gigantic room in his house that he constructed that it's digitally set to a certain temperature, and I mean he has a ridiculous collection.
He's in the
of
LA
wine.
area?
Yeah. He lives in the Palisades, and he built this room onto his house before he moved into this house. I mean, he's a nut, and he can look at wine lists and tell you what's good this year, what's not. I mean, he's constantly on top of it. And he took me to a wine tasting for his birthday. Wine tasting, they brought off different flights of wine, and it was all good to me. But hearing people describe it, it's baffling. The fruity taste, the tannin, the smoky mix.
Yeah, but people don't really get. You don't have to know any of that stuff. If you have if you know somebody that's owns a cool shop or has a nice tasting room, like Matthew over at Covell. If you just go talk to Matthew about what they have on their list, or go to Silver Lake Wine or talk to Randy or April or George to go, okay, what's open, when you have their tastings, and they just take notes on, you have stuff in front of you, okay, write down, did I like it? Did I not like it? Did I like it? Did I not like it? Just write down what you liked and what you didn't like and why. If there's just a couple words like, I didn't like that because of this, or I like that because of this, write it down. And then you just show them, have them write down what the wines were that you had. And not so much for you, but for them. And come back again and do it again for some other flight or whatever. And once you have some notes down, they're going to start to figure out what you might like. And then they're going to go, okay, try this or try this, and then come back and tell me if you liked it or not.
I tend to like the fruitier, like a Pinot Noir, like that kind of wine.
Mm-hmm. And again, don't even gravitate toward the Pinot. Just taste stuff, and then write down what it was, and start kind of keeping a log or something of what that was. Because if you have a pretty good intuitive person working at one of those wine shops, they can kind of go, okay, having poured you, 100 little tastes over the last couple months, we've narrowed down what you like.
Do you see yourself going into whiskey next?
Dude, I love Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy?
Was that
What is that?
Can I plug?
Sure.
Whiskey? Okay.
Why not?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a mellow bourbon aged in port barrels. It's super mellow.
In port barrel. So they take the
older port.
Take the port. It pours out, and then
they
make the biscuit. Wow.
They buy the barrels from somebody.
How does that affect the taste? Like, what is it supposed to do to the taste?
Couldn't tell you. I'm not a whiskey guy, but I like that one.
That's it right there. Angel's Envy.
There you are. Hello.
Do you see yourself doing anything else? Any other crazy ideas you have cooking in the back burner that you might get into?
I cook a little bit, but I don't think I wouldn't go be a chef. I would probably open up like a,
I could see you doing that, though. I could totally see you becoming a chef somewhere. It started out, I just wanted to open up a restaurant. And
then here I am.
Wow. Yeah.
Who wants pizza?
And always in Arizona.
Yeah. Got a couple things up my sleeve in Arizona. Brick oven pizza place.
Northern Arizona is pretty fucking badass. Do you live near the mountains or?
I'm near Sedona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting spot.
Yep.
A lot of weirdos in Sedona.
You think?
A lot of people believe in crystal power.
Yeah. Those are the people you just reach up and grab their leg and pull them down to the ground.
Yeah.
Stay here.
What happens to people? How does that happen where you get a spot like Sedona, for say, where it just people gravitate towards their healers, in quotes?
I don't know. I can't. I have no answer for that.
I have no answer for it either. I've always been fascinated, though. It's like, how does a spot like that come to be?
Well, you can. If you've been into a decent sized city, there's always going to be a spot. Like, for example, in L.A. Okay, you got Millie's over on Sunset.
What's that?
In Silver Lake. Millie's Cafe, Millie's restaurant. It's a little breakfast place over on Sunset. It's always going to have a gathering of people in that spot.
Yeah?
It's like that morning spot.
I'm going to write that down. I've never heard of it. Millie's. Yeah. Millie's on Sunset.
Yep.
Where? Sunset and what,
Just...
Say Silver Lake?
It's in Silver Lake. Just this side of Silver Lake Boulevard.
There's a lot of fucking cool spots down there.
Yeah, a lot. But that's that one that just like, no matter what, no matter who owns that spot, there's always going to be people gathering in that spot for a cup of coffee or like some kind of, sunrise kind of event, a brunch. Yeah, if it's not called brunch someday, just like something, even if it ends up being a donut shop, there's always going to be something there where people gather in that spot. And you kind of have to assign some kind of value to that energy you're talking about in Sedona, to like those little, we'll call them vortexes. There's some kind of gathering vortex at that spot.
Well, I think a lot of those places, especially in LA, they have this deep history of people returning to these spots, and then it almost gets like seeped into the wood. Mm-hmm. Places like the Comedy Store, or you ever eat at Dan Tana's?
No.
Fantastic place. It's one of the old school restaurants in Hollywood. It's on Santa Monica, right near Boys Town, and it's this like super old school bar / restaurant that hasn't changed the menu since 1966 or something like that. Cooks a fucking tremendous steak, has amazing pasta. The waiters all wear tuxedos. It's just one of those like super duper old school spots.
That's cool.
Yeah, and when you go in there, it's like Cantor's Deli. You ever been to Cantor's Deli?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that feel like that place has been used, man. It's just you feel it.
Yeah.
You can't get that in a new place.
I've been at Cantor's in years.
It's a classic. That is a classic comic spot because it's open 24 hours a day. We go there all the time after food or after shows.
Yeah, because Largo's are right across the street.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. L.A. has so many of those really cool old school spots that have just been around for so long.
So I think I think, back to our Sedona conversation, it's probably some version of that where those spots just kind of have that energy. And, just in general, I was driving to L.A. from kind of the Sedona, Prescott area, and I forgot that the Yarnell fires, they kind of had the road closed off, so I couldn't go that way. But I thought, a month had passed, and I figured everything was fine. It wasn't fine yet. So I get to a certain spot, and there's, of course, a guy standing there going, "Psych, you can't go this way." So I had to backtrack, and then I kind of took another route that took me farther, kind of backtracked west-ish, and kind of came back in. And there's an area out in that way where it's that kind of Sedona place where you go there, but there's no people. There's no cell signal. There's nothing. It's just these crazy moon rock, setting with these Joshua trees and cacti just as far as the eye can see. And it's like these crazy rolling hills. It was like the coolest hour and a half, added hour and a half to my trip. It was completely worth it, just because when you see that kind of place, you can see how somebody who, when Sedona isn't there yet, you can see how somebody would go, I want to start something here. There's an energy here that I want to
Did you see that video of those dopey Boy Scout guys who tipped over those 100-million-year-old rocks? Did you see this? I think it's called Goblin Canyon. There's an area of Utah that has these incredible.
Did they find the
rock
bodies?
They made a video. These dumb fucks. They made a video of pushing over this 100.
Did the rocks fall on them?
Unfortunately, no. Do you see?
Is it too late?
Pull it up. Yeah, it's too late. I don't think you can glue it back. But
what I mean, is it too late to
kill them?
I didn't say that out loud.
I did. Yeah, they're too stupid to be held responsible, unfortunately. But they did get fired from the Boy Scouts.
Which, yeah, that sucks.
But the point is, it was one of these really cool ancient structures where it's this giant, like, top, like a mushroom cap almost, and it's just all this wind and sand has eroded it to the point where there's just like this little peak that's holding this thing in place, and it was so fucking cool looking, and these tools just decided to tip it over. Did you find it? What's that?
There's ads on all these videos.
There's ads on them? Of course there are, because it's what happens when a video gets 10 million hits in a week.
Whoops.
Yeah.
No worries there for me.
Those structures are so cool, though. It's so interesting when you see like something that's been created by hundreds of millions of years of erosion. I was in a cave in Colorado. There's the thing, these things. So that's 170 million years old or something like that. This structure, and these fucking idiots push this thing over.
Yeah!
I mean, it's like a Coen Brothers movie.
We have now modified Goblin Valley.
Duh.
Goblin Valley exists with this boulder down here at the bottom. Muscles.
You're hired.
Here pushed it off.
Yeah, cut it. So sad. But those things, that area, Goblin Valley, is another one of those sort of those spots where you drive through it, and it has such an impact.
Where it draws
so
idiots.
Much interesting. Those fuckheads. Hopefully, people will learn from the reaction to this, and it'll never happen again. There's still a lot of really cool shit there, but
Right.
I one time went on one of those publicity flights for the Blue Angels. They took us. You go down to San Diego, and then from San Diego you cut across deep into the desert, and it looks like that. It has all these incredible rocks and weird formations and desert, and there's something badass about that, man. Is that the area?
Goblin Valley, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot
That's
of those
incredible.
fucking things there. Yeah, and it's all just wind and erosion. It's caused all this stuff.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the desert southwest of of this country has some really fucking interesting landscape and fascinating energy to it too.
Yeah, I'll try to text you or email you with the exact area that it was that I was driving through.
Cool.
But you can basically make sure you bring water.
Yeah,
Because
right.
for some reason, if your car breaks down, there's no signal. You're not getting out of there.
Yeah, what do? You have to wait for someone to rescue you.
Yeah, wait for you. There's people out there that you go by ranches and stuff. They're out in that area, but yeah, no.
Yeah, that's when counting on humanity gets very sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize how vulnerable you are until your car runs out of gas in the middle of the desert, and you're like, oh shit. Okay, this is not just a matter of convenience. This is a matter of we might dehydrate to death out here.
Yeah.
There was actually a mixed martial arts fighter, a former UFC champion, Evan Tanner, who went on this sort of vision quest in Death Valley and wound up getting disoriented, lost his water, and died. Decided he was going to go camping.
Don't do that. Don't get all like into the wild on people.
Too late. Yeah, he did it. He died.
No, that's not good.
Yeah, it was definitely not good. But he was an interesting cat. He was the type of guy that, he was whether or not it was a smart move, it was a typical Evan Tanner sort of self-discovery type of a journey. And he did a lot of those, and most of them he came through. But some, this one obviously didn't work out for him.
Mm-mm.
He was a fascinating guy, though. Really interesting, very deep thinker, like a deep original thinker. It's just, these guys are always trying to test themselves, not just inside the cage, but in life, period. And for him, it was, I think, a bit of a vision quest to go out there in one of the most extreme environments known in North America and test himself or find himself.
Yeah, I think, but, when you're going to do a thing like that, you probably should prepare to be tested.
Exactly. It's like the Into the Wild movie, the same thing. I mean, the movie's infuriating. The book is infuriating. The story is infuriating.
There's a 7-Eleven right over there.
Yeah, you don't have to do that, man. Well, not only that, if you're going to do that Into the Wild shit, man, you should if you really respect nature, well, you should fucking prepare for it for a long time. You should really know what you're doing. Like, I am in love with these subsistence shows, like these shows, like these Alaska shows where these people, they live off the land and trapping and hunting and fishing, but they fucking know what they're doing, and they've been doing it a long time, and they have like cabins set up along the way, like in case they get trapped outside, they know that they just have to get a half a mile down the road and they can get to this cabin. There's dry wood inside of it. They can start a fire. There's matches. Everything's ready to rock and roll. And
over-prepared.
Exactly.
Duh.
They're ready. I mean, they're in Alaska. It's 50 fucking degrees below zero.
If you're a runner and you're like a semi-distance runner, like a 4-mile runner, or like a 10K or whatever, you do sprints and you do marathons for training. You do the extremes.
Yeah.
And you do it often and you do it well, and then you go do your race.
Well, it's also, if you're gonna, you really do respect that area. If you really do respect the wilderness, I mean, you got to prepare for it. You really have to prepare to respect it. It's the only way you can respect it. Because by going out there unprepared, you're disrespecting it. And it doesn't give a fuck about you. It doesn't give a fuck about your ego. It doesn't give a fuck how, a lot of guys might get lost out here, but I got a natural sense of the woods. It's not hearing that shit. It's not hearing that shit.
No.
It'll dry you out and turn you into coyote food.
Yeah, it's going to school you, for sure.
Do you enjoy the fact that there's like less humans out where you are? Do you feel that there's a benefit in that?
Yep.
There is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all a matter of perspective, and I guess it's a microcosm, macrocosm kind of situation where if you're in a big city like this, you're going to see a cross section of a certain kind of people. My friend Todd, that I was just talking about talking in reference to just any kind of infrastructure or hierarchy. You got your 10% that are kicking ass. You got your 80% that are just kind of coasting. You got your 10% that suck. So you're going to end up, if it's LA, or if it's like a 400 population town, you're going to have similar percentages. There's going to be 10% that care and know what they're doing or want to know what they're doing, and then 80% that are just there. and then 10% that you just want to run over.
That's the one good thing about being in a place like New York City or LA where there's a large population is there's the 10% is a larger number. And you can cultivate a good group of them.
And yeah, but you have to go out and find them.
Yeah. You got to find them, you got to keep them close, and you got to feed off of each other. And then hopefully encourage some other people perhaps that are in the other 80% to break free. Maybe tip the numbers a bit.
I agree.
When you die 75.
Because we're all capable. We're all capable of, learning, doing.
Do you feel a responsibility for that or towards that as an artist? Do you ever feel like because of what you're doing, because of you're so motivated, you get so much done, you have so many different projects going, do you realize the impact of that? Because a lot of people are inspired by the not just the work ethic that you have, but the how much quality shit you produce, whether it's wine or music or.
I appreciate the compliment. I think you can't really worry about it. You just got to do what it is you're doing, and for me, I just have to do what I'm doing. There's a sense of responsibility for the art or for the process, and just for myself. I care about what I'm doing. If I start caring about what you think about what I'm doing, or whether it's going to be helping you, then I'm an assisted living employee. You
said something in your video that was very unpretentious, but had the potential to be massively pretentious. But it wasn't, because you were being honest. And what you're saying is that life is too short to not create with every breath you take.
Right.
But you when you said it, the audience cheered. It was a real moment. They recognized that real moment. But God damn, the wrong person could say that, and you're like, well, you just shut the fuck up. Create with every. Oh, please.
Yeah, we get that all the time.
Yeah, but you really mean it. If you really mean it, it is inspiring, and that's where the cheer in the audience comes from.
Yeah.
People fucking love that. They love when someone is like motivated to make shit, motivated to put out art, motivated to test themselves creatively. It's exciting.
I have a lot of people around me, especially just within the music, within the film, within the animation, like all those things, but especially in the vineyards and the restaurant stuff. I see people that are just every day. Just like I'm inspired by their work ethic, and because we were talking about a restaurant, like that's not a whim. That's not something you can kind of just start on a whim and not expect to be responsible for keeping the boat floating. That's like there's a restaurant in Arizona called F&B, Pavle and Charlene, and just watching what they go through. But not go through. That's the wrong way to put it. But like just their process, and their motivation, and their fire, and their drive. It's very inspiring. And then a lot of the winemakers that I know in the state as well, you're watching them go through their changes, and you're watching them go where they discover a new thing about a new potential of what they can do, and how much better they can make it, and you just see that process. It's really inspiring.
Do you watch any of Anthony Bourdain's TV shows? Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
He had the No Reservation show, and now the new show is
his wife trains with Henzo.
Yeah. His wife's good, man.
I saw their kid training there when I was there last.
Isn't that hilarious? Yeah, she's awesome. Badass.
Yeah.
She's at the fights constantly.
I've never actually met Anthony, but I've seen some of the shows. But
he's a great guy.
I heard he has a new one that's kind of fun.
Yes. What is it called? Parts Unknown. Parts Unknown. Yeah, and it's basically the same show, but this one he has more control of, and now it's on CNN. It's got a bigger budget, but the show, the one that he had on the Travel Channel, was the first experience that I had ever had with chefs. Like, I knew that I like good food, and I kind of understand that it takes a special person to make good food, but I'd never understood how intensive the process is or how creative the process is. And I mean, he explores some really boutique restaurants where these guys grow their own food, hunt their own meat. And there's one place in Spain, I think it was. I think it's closed. It was called El Bulli, where this guy was, this head chef was this legendary guy who brought in all these amazing chefs, and they would just create these fucking intense works of art, these small plate works of art that were just so unique and inspiring. Maybe want to write jokes, maybe want to expand my comedy routine, you know?
But at the same time, as intense as they are about those unique dishes, you'll also catch them eating a bowl of popcorn.
Yes. Yeah, why not? Well, Bourdain's a big one on street food.
Yeah.
He loves like street tacos and shit. I mean, why not? Why be pretentious about it? It's all about the full spectrum of these.
Kind of like that film, Perfume.
What is that?
Was it dubbed? Yeah. Intense movie about this guy. It's got a perfume, a story of murder, I think is what the title is, right? Is that right?
Yep.
And it starts going off about this child who was born in poverty that had such an incredible sense of smell. He didn't differentiate bad smells from good smells. He just could smell everything, and he was very good at like deciphering all these smells. And so it's a. I'm not going to spoil it for you. You got to see it.
I'm not going to watch it. You can spoil it.
It's awesome.
Is it really good?
Yeah.
Trailer for it.
Oh, this is the trailer right here?
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty intense.
Dude's a creeper.
He's a creeper. It's got I think it's got Dustin Hoffman in it.
I read about a polar bear today that they train, or a dog they train to smell if polar bears are pregnant.
You have to.
Just stop and think of that. How specific is that? A dog trained to tell if polar bears are pregnant.
So it does he just kind of sit around, almost like a firefighter, kind of waiting for a fire?
Das Parfum. Ooh. Good movie? You recommend that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I'll get something. I got to fly to Kentucky tomorrow. I'll throw that bitch on the laptop.
It's pretty fun. I think you'll enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, I'll recommend another movie you won't enjoy.
Okay, it sounds like a good deal. A dog that can smell if a polar bear is pregnant. They say that the best way to describe how good a dog's nose is skunks. Because that's the one time where we can smell parts per million. A skunk is the scent is so strong that we actually can catch that scent from blocks and blocks away.
Yeah.
Very much like a dog can smell things.
Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty an interesting way of exploring the idea, because otherwise it seems like intangible.
Well, when we have javelina around Arizona, and as soon as the javelina come anywhere near the vineyard or near their yard, the dog is up.
Yeah.
He can smell them already.
Well, they're scary animals.
Not even in the yard yet, and they're up and they can tell.
Those are freaky things, man. You ever seen when they hunt javelinas?
It's pretty intense.
They're one of the few animals that when you call them, they come running. Like if you make a sound like an injured animal, they don't sort of like sneak around or try to
start.
They come running straight towards that sound, and then they realize there's a person there. Yikes! They haul it and turn around and run the other way. But they supposedly taste great. They taste like very much like a wild pig.
Yeah, but it's one of those situations where if you don't field dress them properly. They've got some weird glands that'll just ruin all the meat. You cut the wrong gland and it's done.
Yeah.
You ruin the meat.
Probably the tarsal glands. Yeah, they're stinky fucking animals. But they have to be, man. They have to be wild, hardy bitches. They're living out there in the desert, man. That's what they look like. Just like a freaky, small, wild pig-looking thing.
And people keep telling me that they're actually have more in common with a rat than a pig.
Yeah.
But that looks like a fucking pig to me.
Yeah, it looks like a pig to me too. But I guess a rat kind of looks like a pig too. They're just small.
I have no desire to eat them, so they must not be a pig because I love a bacon.
They apparently taste really good. They taste very much like pig. Wild pig is supposed to be the best. I've never had.
There's got to be some place in
boar.
LA that serves javelina. Some place in LA has to serve a javelina.
You would assume, right?
Let's find out.
I bet it's really hard to get commercial javelina though. You know, you'd have to hire hunters to go out and get it for you. What kind of a supply could you actually get?
What's that place that's up in like Malibu? It's like that kind of game restaurant.
Oh yeah, the Saddle Peak Lodge.
I wonder if they have it.
I don't think so. I was there recently. They have like elk and venison and things along those lines, and pheasant. I don't think they have javelina. That's pretty freaky. You got to go to like New Mexico to get
Let's
javelina.
call them and say, step up. Man.
Yeah, call them and say, listen, man.
I'll come in if you have
javelina tacos.
If you have polar bear, pureed sniffing dog steaks and javelina.
There was a website that was selling exotic meat from animals like lions. They were selling like lion meat and also javelina cantina. What is that?
Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, did they really sell javelina there though?
Probably not.
No, that's like a Fridays. That's a TGI Fridays.
But in Arizona, it's more like a Thursday.
They take a day off early, a little more laid back, a little longer weekend.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's hot as fuck in the summertime, man. And then you got that Sheriff Arpaio dickwad. That sheriff, you know who that guy is?
Mm-mm.
You don't know who Sheriff Arpaio is?
Mm-mm.
You guys have the most controversial sheriff in the entire country.
Down south around Tucson?
He's the guy that puts everybody in pink underwear and pink jumpsuits and has the men stay outside in tents, no air conditioning.
And that's bad?
Makes them work.
It sounds like college.
I think there's more butt fucking than regular college.
Oh, okay.
I think it's he's just this really controversial conservative guy. Yeah, see the photo of these guys. He puts them in this clean and sober, I guess. He had Mike Tyson in one of those. Apparently, arrested him
and didn't get knocked the fuck out.
No, I mean he's pretty insulated by the time you get to him. Yeah, so quite a few people with guns in the way.
True.
But he's famous for sort of representing Arizona, and then
we have a lot of those people.
Like the governor, that Jan Brewer chick. She's one of the few people that I've ever seen like give a debate where I was like, I could be a governor. I was listening to her talk, and I was like, I could do that job. Right. I could definitely beat her.
George Bush wasn't enough? You had to wait till you heard Jan Brewer
No,
speak?
I don't think I could be president. I have too many skeletons. But I could be a governor. I could totally... They'll let you get away with a few skeletons if you're a governor.
True.
I mean, none of them are bad. I've never done any real crimes. I don't have any bodies or anything like that. Drug use would be questionable. I've said a few things. Said a few things might come back to haunt me, but nothing. But I watched her give debates, and I'm like, oh, this is hilarious. And then she won. I mean, I watched a debate where she was just
and then you realized you could win.
Stumped. Yeah, I realized I could beat this chick. All I have to do is prepare a little. This ain't hard. How the fuck did she win? How is she your governor? How is that?
I don't know.
You didn't vote for her, did you?
No.
How far away is the place that you train jiu-jitsu? Is it a real town?
Yeah, it's in Cottonwood. So it's small, small dojo.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it used to be one point in time, it was super hard to find a good Jiu-Jitsu gym. Guys would buy like VHS tapes and train each other, and now it's so amazing. There's so many
there's guys in Prescott now, there's guys in Cottonwood. I think there might be guys in Sedona, but there's definitely guys in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Well, Arizona itself is a huge hotbed for mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Lab, which is where Benson Henderson comes from, John Crouch's place. Then you've got Power MMA, which is where, Aaron Simpson, CB Dalloway, a lot of like big name MMA fighters. A lot of guys come out of Arizona.
The Megatons studios there.
Yeah. It's really interesting how that sport has opened up the door for not even people that want to compete in MMA, but people that are just interested in exploring martial arts.
Mm.
The amount of legit martial arts schools is probably at an all-time high in this country now.
Yep. I would agree with that. I just got back from training with my friends in St. Louis. I hurt my wrist. Derp.
How much training do you do when you're on the road? Do you like
on the road? It's harder, way harder. I mean, if we have a day where we can go in and train, and we have like a nice day off or a day off, 2 days off, then I can risk it. But to go in and just there's what time, when would you do it? On a show day, there's just no way.
But you've been involved in one form or another, at least peripherally, in martial arts for a long fucking time now, right?
Yeah,
I saw a photo of you with BJ Penn back when, he was like a purple belt.
I got injured in like 2003 or 2002 Actually, before that, and then it just kind of compounded, and then I just stopped around 2000.
That was the back thing, right?
Yeah.
This is what I got drawn out of my blood. This is what pushed me over the top and gave me the flu. I'm gonna pull this up for you. You can see this fucking ridiculous amount of blood they sucked out of my body. That's
Come on.
Yeah.
Jello shots. Let's go.
Yeah. That's what they take and heat up and then spin in the centrifuge, and I'll let you know how it works out. But I've been dealing with a back injury for the past, altogether for about four or 5 years now, but pretty bad over the last year and a half, on and off, and started to get like numbness in my hands and things along those lines, where I was realizing that my nerves are getting impeded and smushed, and
Right.
I realized I had to do something about it. So I don't have any of the symptoms anymore, but this is supposed to do an amazing job.
You did that here?
Yeah, I did it in Santa Monica.
Okay.
Well, they do it in Germany, and that's where I was going. Dana White has been going over there for. He has Meniere's disease, which is something to do with the inner ear, and it makes vertigo and tinnitus. He gets like this ring in his ear, and like literally can't stand up, loses his balance. But the guy who developed this process in Germany trained a bunch of other doctors, and now they're doing it in Santa Monica as well. So I just went in today.
You're my guinea pig then.
I'm in. I just got the first injections today, but I'm with you. Old dudes with back problems. Salute.
Hey.
So one thing that does suck about training is that your body's your vehicle. It's not a race car. It's this fleshy.
Well, just in general, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, it's just brutal. It's not, it's not just going into a gym and there's a direction that this weight machine moves, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's every direction.
That's why it's so critical to find good training partners. Just like we were talking about cultivating good friends, cultivating good training partners is another one. Like there's a few guys at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu that I know I can count on to not spaz out, to be technical.
And I'm still learning that. Even now, it's like I'm so used to my wrestling background where it's like go, go, go. And I'm having to go slow, slow, slow.
Yeah. If you ever watch like really high level guys go at it, one of the more fascinating aspects of it is it looks like there's very little effort being applied, especially when they're sparring. A little bit more so when they're competing. When they're competing, they're going after it. But when they're sparring, like a lot of times these guys are just sort of rolling around, it seems like. They're flowing.
It's like walk, sprint, walk, walk.
Never give the guy a position where he could sprint to the finish line. Always make him, he's got 4 or 5 steps before he can sprint, because a regular person won't see the difference between the just what looks like casual rolling, and even though they're casually rolling, he's always going to be 2 or 3 spots away from the finish line.
It's chess.
Yeah, it really is, and that's something that I found, like we were talking about things that inspire you creatively. I get inspired by people who have a lot of discipline for jiu-jitsu. I get inspired by people that are, constantly creating and putting a new slant on that. And that jiu-jitsu is very much an art form. The word martial art, it seems wrong to people that don't participate in it. Like the word art seems like the wrong thing. But when you do it, you realize like if you watch it, and you see, if you have an aptitude for it, you understand it, and you see what's going on, and then you watch someone who's really good at it, it becomes beautiful. And then it does become an art. It is something, not just an art as far as like something creative, but an art like as in something visually beautiful. And very, very inspirational, man, I think. And it's also another one of those things that I think, like creating wine, like putting together a band, like putting together a comedy act, like writing a novel, like these things that we do when we put our thoughts and our creativity into something, they sort of they don't just exist in a vacuum, but they sort of enhance all the other aspects of our life too.
I agree. Yeah. And just in general, there's that whole physical aspect of making the blood go through your system and being in shape. You start thinking more clearly. You're more creative. You can kind of solve puzzles better. If I notice if I just need a break and I just start slouching off, it starts to kind of compound if I don't get back into something, walking, running.
No
jiu-jitsu.
doubt. Do you ever fuck around with yoga?
A little bit, yeah. I need to do more. That's one of those things that I just feel like that's the on the to-do list that I just keep being embarrassed about having to put it on the next to-do list.
Yeah, that's one of those things that everybody always says too. I need to do more yoga. Like we talk about yoga, and oh god, I need to do yoga more.
It's an absolute embarrassing reality. I have to do more yoga.
Yeah, I have a couple good DVDs that I slap in the laptop on the road. That's a very satisfying thing to do. To work out in a hotel room completely alone and do just a whole yoga class through a laptop. When you get through it, it's a real feeling of accomplishment. Because I could have just ate Doritos and watched TV instead.
Which is what I did last night.
Yeah.
It was actually Swedish fish. It wasn't Doritos.
Swedish fish? Those are rare. When you have those nearby, it's really tough to say no to them.
That's what I'm saying.
You're like, ooh, Swedish fish.
I can do yoga or I can have these.
Well, you could do both. That's where it gets
I was out of town, so when I'm in a hotel out of town, and my wife's, wherever she is, it's my opportunity to watch like all the stupid movies that she just won't watch while I'm around.
Like what?
I watched that new Riddick movie.
I saw that.
Ba-boom.
I saw that with my daughter. She was looking at me like, "What the fuck did you take me to see?" I'm like, "I'm sorry."
It's so awful. I watched the whole thing.
It's so bad.
I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the worst movies.
Laughing the whole time, laughing at myself, knowing that like she's probably laughing, knowing that it sucks so bad, and here I am like watching the whole thing and just laughing at myself for watching it.
The craziest thing is the first one was really good, and I tried to explain that to my 17-year-old after we saw it.
Which one?
Like the first one was good. Near Dark. Mm-hmm. It was a good fucking movie.
It was
that
scary.
Is a good, scary science fiction movie. Mm-hmm. But somewhere along the line, what is this, number four? Is four, I think?
I can't tell you how many times I've watched Chronicles.
Is Chronicles good?
Well, my wife doesn't think so.
There's something going on now, man, with science fiction movies where there's so much CGI and they can get away with doing so much on the screen visually that I'm detached. I'm not feeling like I went to see Star Trek, the last Star Trek one, Into the Darkness, whatever the fuck it was. And I was like, this is just a bunch of things happening. I have no connection at all to any of these
First
people.
First one I was pretty connected with.
Not bad, yeah. But the last one was just like, just a series of things happening in front of you where you don't give a fuck.
Right.
It's just, they're almost...
I guess, it comes down back to the art.
Yeah.
Part. If you see somebody taking even a mediocre script and just running with it, like you see when you see an artist kind of being able to tell those stories to where you just believe it. Like I don't know if I used this example with you last time, but I just saw it again this season of Sons of Anarchy, watching Kim Coates fully get an erection over Walton Goggins in drag. And it's just, Walton Goggins has fake tits, and he's, like a mess because he's trying to get his son back, and, the lipstick's all smeared, and like, Kim Coates is trying to figure out how he's going to date this dude. It's just such an awkward, but they completely sell it, like all the way, you're convinced, like, that he loves her. And it's like, not a her, it's Walton Goggins and with fake boobs. There you go.
That's hilarious. I haven't given that show a chance.
Try to find a shot of Kim Coates staring at her. It's incredible.
And now, is he supposed to be a transsexual or a transgender or a transvestite?
I think she still has her previous equipment, but also has tits.
So are the tits? They're implants,
Yep.
or are they hormones? Implants.
I don't know.
Really they don't specify.
I don't know.
Probably
they don't really say. I don't think.
Yeah, the only thing that'll throw you off with those things is the nipple size. Men generally don't have the right nipples for boobs like that. So when you see them and they used to be a man...
Can I go?
Just trying to give you advice, bro. If things get dark, don't get sensitive. If shit gets weird, The transgender community is there for you.
You sound like you've done a lot of research on
I
this.
have, unfortunately. I'm fascinated by gender identity. I'm fascinated by people who decide that they...
Well, then you'll love, and you can see why they brought, there he is, he's got his arm around her now.
Wow.
That's the best I could find.
That's awesome. But you can see why, when it first came up, they were just using this tranny to blackmail a dude.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that scene, the character Tiggs, Kim's like just was so distracted by what was like they were supposed to just be doing his job, and he was so fascinated with this person, and you could see why the writer put him back into a later season, because anybody who's watching that show went, "Bring her back, that was awesome," and now he's
Oh wow.
ba-boom.
Oh wow. How did they do that? So that's the dude from The Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah, and Justified.
I'm missing out. I need to start.
He's one of my favorite actors. Right
But
there.
aren't they? He's a great actor. That dude can act his ass off. He was fantastic in The Shield too. Aren't they on like what season? Like 6 or 7? Yeah, I can't catch up now. It's too late. It's just daunting. It's too much work.
Sons?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Do you watch anything else on TV that's stupid?
No, because I mean, I'll watch all kinds of stupid shows, but I'm always looking at, like, if I find out there's an actor that I like in a thing, I want to see how they're dealing with the puzzle they've been dealt. That's kind of like why I'm even watching it. I just want to see.
The craft of.
Or you hear a rumor of, like, watch this fucker unravel. Like, because so this particular actor is having some issues, so you'll want to watch the show to watch if you can see if you can get a whiff of the crazy coming off them.
Like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah, maybe they're getting into pills or something. You can kind of like, and just seem just trying to hold it together. And you can also, like, 2 episodes later, there's like a new character that could potentially take over that person's position.
oh, that's funny.
So kind of building it into the script to go, okay,
So you add the background. You add a
Yeah.
little flavor.
yeah, just to see how see how that's going.
Well, it's a common issue, especially the pills.
Yeah,
These poor fucks.
yeah, and it's hard to I have a lot of friends that go through that kind of stuff, and that's one of the hardest things to get out of your system. You probably rather you're better off trying to get off heroin, because the pills just go deep.
Yeah, well, the pills essentially are heroin. I mean, that's what they are. They're opiates.
And they just do damage,
Yeah.
major damage.
And they prescribe them like they're giving out free gum. I mean, it's amazing how many people are on prescription painkillers in this country, and how many of those painkillers are opiates, and how many of those people are addicted to those opiates. We're fucking weird when it comes to that, man, without a doubt. That's one of the most disturbing aspects of our society, the amount of pills that people consume. You know, it's dark, and when you see someone that
And
you
it
care,
kind of started right, like about a generation before us with the Valium. And all of a sudden,
sure, the Rolling Stone song, "Mother's Little Helper." Yeah, she goes running for the shelter. Yeah, that's when they first found out that you could live a shitty life and get through it with some sort of medication. And just medicate yourself and dull the angst and dull the desire to free yourself from this fucking hellish existence, and
or just go do something.
You could definitely do that too.
Just
Yeah.
go do something.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to take society to figure that out as a whole, so that'll be a thing of the past.
Do something without expecting to be compensated for it. Just do it because you want to do it.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. For some people, I think they have a hard time finding something that they actually enjoy doing too.
Well, you're so conditioned to want stuff and to have, the fluff around it from the glory days or whatever. You forget to just, work harder for less, to just enjoy what you do.
You have children now.
I have a son. He's 18.
18. What is it like seeing someone who, you created, who's about to enter into this crazy world as an independent? I mean, he's essentially on his way to being a man. He's 18. He's basically at the launching block of manhood.
Well, he's way smarter than I am, so there's I don't have any worries about him finding his way. He's intuitive. He's personable. He is good at understanding social dynamics, but he's extremely smart. You know, he wants to go into chemistry and biology. So, but he's also an incredible cello player. So
Wow.
he got a scholarship to play cello for a performance of high school for cello, and so, but he's not going to pursue cello for his college. That's just an extra thing he does, and he rocks at it. So I don't have any. I guess part of it is my parents are. My dad is just a very active person, very smart man, and healthy. And so when I see him, when you kind of know where you've been, you know where you're going. So
Right.
I have a feeling that's just having my son see what I did, see what my dad has done. He has a good compass, good navigation skills.
Yeah, the only concern that I have, the big concern, is that children today are growing up with so many more variables than we ever did, and also much more potential for quicker learning because of the internet, and with that, again, more potential, more possibilities, more variables, more things to think about. It's like more that could potentially be overwhelming.
Right, and I think most kids are. I think there's just my father was a high school teacher, and by the time he retired, it was basically because they kind of pushed him out to get into a new person who wasn't going to question the curriculum. He was very adamant about making the people who came into that classroom. You had to make an effort in his classroom to pass the class. You couldn't coast. It wasn't anything. It was like a multiple choice question. You were answering the questions, and you had to know the material, and you had to be on time. You had to put in over the course of the year. You were also doing homework and coming in with completed thoughts that counted towards your grades. And if you didn't complete all aspects of that in his class, you didn't do well.
Yeah, if there's any one thing that you can instill in a child that's going to guarantee them a healthier existence, is an appreciation for work, an appreciation for accomplishing things, setting and accomplishing goals. So few kids are ever indoctrinated into that sort of the way of life. You know,
Yeah, we didn't get to school unless he got up at 6 a.m. and snowblowed the driveway in the winter. We weren't going to work.
Where'd you guys live? Boston?
Michigan.
Yeah, I lived in Boston. Same sort of situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but we had, our driveway was almost a quarter mile long, so if we didn't snowblow the driveway, we weren't getting to the main road that was hopefully plowed.
A quarter mile?
Of snowblowing.
Holy shit. Well, luckily it was snowblowing and not shoveling.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
A quarter, and you're dealing with some serious snow up there.
Yeah, because it's on the Lake Michigan side, so you get a lot of
wowie. God, it's fucking cold.
My senior year, we had 7 days of school in January.
What? That's hilarious.
The blizzard would hit on Sunday or Monday, and boom, done till Thursday.
Tell me, though, how awesome were snow days growing up? That's one thing people in California, Arizona.
HBO, Mountain Dew, and red licorice. Bam.
I used to look out that window, and if I saw like a foot on the car outside parked, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah!" And then you would call that number. There was a number. They would, they would list off the different towns where school was canceled, and if they got to Newton, I would go, "Fuck yes!" It was just this huge free day. Yeah, that was a beautiful thing. And it was also the thing that I really appreciated a lot about growing up in a really fucking cold place. Despite, on top of learning that, there's a good to having really fucking cold, snowy days. And that's you really appreciate the sunny days with a different vigor,
Seasons.
Yeah, but there's also the quiet. There's a weird quiet when everything's covered in snow that I don't think anybody will ever appreciate unless they experience it.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
When you're out there and it's like a full-on snowstorm and there's just a 1.5 feet of snow on the ground, the trees are covered with snow, you don't hear shit. It's this weird, eerie, ringing silence.
Yeah, because it's a different, if it's a rainstorm, of course you're hearing rain.
Yeah.
But just that floating snow, big chunks coming down, it's almost like an incredible sound barrier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just absorbs everything, and you're just like you're such like an isolation tank.
Yeah, you hear like every now and then you hear like a car in the distance trying to get out of a driveway.
Or your
Spinning
neighbor
its
yelling,
wheel.
"Fucker won't start."
Yeah, I grew up in this area that was across the street from a river, and it was a fairly rural area, and this giant park in the river was across the street from my house, and the street was pretty steep, and every time it would snow, or especially if it would rain, the street would become a hockey rink. And I would watch cars drive down the hill, and just right when they got to my house, they'd be losing control and just bouncing off curbs. I think there's something to learn about that. And there's something about dealing with weather that I think is healthy for a person, healthy for your character.
Well, I haven't driven a car in snow in, decades, like for any length of time. But in Jerome, we get snow in the winter. And it's amazing to me how people just cannot drive in it.
Yeah.
And we get it every year, a little bit, sometimes a lot more. But having to I immediately just get in my Jeep and I go up to a point in the town where it's the problem spot and just park and wait, because there's somebody that can't get up the hill or around the bend because they just can't understand not to slam on the gas.
So you park and wait to help people?
Yeah, because
Really?
they're good. Because I'm helping. I'm not. Don't. I'm not. There we go. This is that one of those ones where they do the crash thingy. Not because I'm like some kind of helping hand type
Jesus,
guy.
Look at this. Oh, Jesus Christ. That guy's getting doom. The cool thing about accidents in the snow is they just sort of bump into each other and slide around.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one's glued onto the ground, so it's not the same kind of impact.
Right. Well, I go up there to help them out just because I know if I don't, there's going to be like 20 cars behind them that can't get where they're going. So it's just more a matter of like bringing a plunger to the shit show.
There's a certain amount of camaraderie too about when things like that happen, snow, and people have to help push people's cars out of spots and things along. That's another thing that people don't deal with in LA. The lack of weather in LA is, I think, one of the reasons why people are so cocky. Because they never get humbled. It doesn't even fucking rain here. I remember after the earthquake in '94. It's just when I moved here, in '93, whatever it was. I moved here right after that happened. And I remember people were so nice. They were so humble. It was a weird thing. It was like it brought people together for a little bit.
That was a strange experience to be, I was all, like Steve Martin, the jerk, out in the backyard with my dogs in front of me, like hearing the trees just like creaking around and all the car alarms, like a symphony of car alarms going off. It was crazy, like hearing the glass shatter everywhere.
Yeah.
Freaked me out.
Yeah, I missed it. I came right after it happened, but I got caught in one of the bigger aftershocks. I was in an apartment on North Hollywood, and my apartment moved around. The best way I could describe it is if it was a refrigerator box. It just went side to side, side to side, side to side. Like it was made out of nothing. Mm-hmm. And I was just going, holy shit.
Were you up by like Lancashire, Vineland, and Camarillo right there?
Yeah.
That's where I was. That's where I lived.
Oh, no kidding.
Right behind the Blockbuster there by the Firestone.
Yeah, I was like just, I guess it would be just east of Laurel Canyon, like deep down like Moore Park. I was on Moore Park.
Yeah, you weren't that far from me.
No, that fucking thing was
I was outside nude with my dog as a merkin. Freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, and there was that feeling about like Los Angeles then, where people were humbled. They were like a little nicer to each other, and I felt it again in New York right after September 11th. Mm-hmm. I remember I lived in New York in the early '90s, and then when I went back to New York, I remember like California. I'm thinking that people in California were like a lot more mellow and nicer than people in New York, and people in New York always had that sort of hard edge to it. But when I went after September 11th, that edge was gone. There was this warmth to people in New York and a friendliness that I hadn't ever experienced there before. I was like, this is really interesting. I'm like, there's a real tangible positive impact that this tragedy has had, is that people are appreciating each other more. People are appreciating.
Silver lining.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's almost like people need perspective. They need to see negative to appreciate positive. You need to see those shitty Michigan winters to appreciate a good summer day.
Mm-hmm.
In California, every day is a great summer day. Today was a great summer day. It's fucking November 4th. It's 82 degrees outside. We're a little spoiled when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
People need nature. They need to see it. They need a fucking rainstorm to just kick your ass, just to let you know, like, this fucking thing can come down on you at any time. I have no point. That's where it ends.
I liked it.
It's true though, right? I think that's the one curse. It's almost like being born rich. You never have to deal with adversity in California. There's a lack of appreciation for the fact that you're actually on a planet, that you're actually a part of nature.
Yeah, there's no seasons here, so you don't really get the chance to see that change. So,
what a perfect place to put the factory of all things fake, I mean, if you really wanted to think about a great way to fuck up a culture,
right?
Just take a spot where the weather never changes and then put cameras on people and pretend they're interesting. Pretend they're amazing. Give them lines to say that they're way too fucking stupid. Oh, yeah. Convince them, give them cocaine, give them tons of money for pretending. Confuse the shit out of everybody.
Right.
Make it so that they get in line first at the clubs. Everybody lets them in. They throw velvet carpets down and they walk on them and everybody cheers. Confuse the fuck out of everybody.
Right.
This is the spot. And by the way, it never rains.
And it never rains. Rained in Arizona this year.
Did it?
Yeah. Got a lot of good rain.
Yeah, Arizona doesn't get much props, man. It's not like when people talk about the cool spots in this country, Arizona doesn't get much props.
Unless you're on a vision quest.
Unless you're looking for some solid peyote.
Yeah.
Some San Pedro cactus and a good sweat lodge.
That's for you.
Try to find your spirit.
That's for the kids.
That's for the kids? I don't fuck with that peyote. I've never fucked with peyote. I've heard mixed reviews.
Maybe.
Maybe?
I had a bald friend who had a good experience on it.
Oh, yeah? Mm-hmm. Did he look like you?
A little bit. Not then. Not right then.
Yeah, I'm more of a mushroom guy myself. Mushrooms and tryptamines. But, hey, I would snub my nose at no peyote. Peyote's a weird one, too, because you can actually legally own the cactus. Not just own it, but you can buy it at hardware stores. You could go to Home Depot and get San Pedro cactus. And I'm pretty sure that's how you make it, right?
I don't know. I was with some indigenous people who invited me into their ceremony, so it was quite a special moment.
Yeah, I have no personal experience, but I have one friend that did it and said that he was in an apartment building and he was listening to people talk that were easily 5 blocks away, and he was listening to every word out of their mouth, and he couldn't believe that he could hear it, but he was absolutely sure that he could hear it.
God bless him.
God bless peyote.
He woke up with one of those orange cones stuffed in his ear.
I don't think he did. No, he woke up trying to figure out whether or not it was a dream. That's the problem with those hallucinogenic experiences. Even if it's an incredible beneficial experience, there's that wrestling match where you're like, was it real? What was that? And I try to get people to look at psychedelic experiences as this way, like whether it was real or whether it wasn't real, the experience was exactly the same. So if you took mushrooms and truly did go to another dimension and communicate with ultimate knowledge and tune into the love of the universe, tune into the frequency of life and of progress, or whether it happened in your mind, it's still the same experience.
Right. But I would, if people are going to do those things, I think it goes back to what you were talking about before about understanding, preparation for this thing you're going to do.
Having respect for it, too.
Yeah, having absolute respect for it and understanding what you're getting into and understanding when you get, wherever you go, understanding how to handle just kind of finding a center in yourself that can kind of handle what it is you're seeing and try to stay out of fear. Stay in the moment, stay away from fear, and just prepare. If you're going to do those kind of things, just prepare for the journey.
Prepare for the journey and learn how to let go. And if you are going to do those things, do it hopefully with somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. Mm-hmm. Because if you start messing with that stuff and neither one of you know what you're doing, you're both going to be under that fog of fear.
Right.
You're both going to be terrible. But if one guy's like, dude, trust me, I've been here before. I know how to get out of this neck of the woods.
Right.
We're going to be okay.
Right.
How much benefit have you had personally from psychedelic experiences?
I didn't really do a lot of it. Compared to people that I knew that did a lot of it and didn't make it out.
Didn't make it out?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, you've met them. You've met those kind of people that they didn't quite make it out. And it's kind of twisted them for life.
How many people do you know like that?
Dozens.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
They're never going to, just because of the whole nature of how it breaks down some of those barriers between your left and right brain, metaphorically, just how you think about your creative processes. They can never quite get their feet back on the ground to understand what it means to actually do a thing, rather than just, imagine a thing.
So you know dozens of people like that? Mm-hmm. And what was it? Was it like a series of trips, or was it like...
They just did too much.
Too much, too long. Just lived in that world for too long? Yeah, that is
and didn't prepare. Again, didn't prepare for what they were going to do and see. And
McKenna always had the best advice when it came to psychedelics. Large doses infrequently.
Right. And prepare.
Yeah, prepare and... Don't do it all the time. Do it and then process. Mm-hmm. Figure out what can you get out of this. Yeah.
Because again, it's contrast. Whatever journey you took, even if it's not on the psychedelics, even if it's like just some entire, you're gonna go for a month to be silent in some spiritual place and introspection and do a fast or whatever. You don't want to do that like. 12 months out of the year, they don't have any contrast with anything. Just go do it, get intense about it, prepare for it before you go, and then be ready to take a while to come out of it when you are coming back, and then you live your normal life. And
do you feel like that, like when you're creating wine, or when you're putting together a DVD, or when you take on a project, that you're kind of on a journey like that as well?
Absolutely, everything that I've done there's been some element of preparation attached to it. It's not something I just dive into.
And then every time those things are accomplished, there's this feeling of reinforcement of the process.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a way to trick themselves into thinking they're right, or kind of consistently put a particular process in to get some result back that reinforces the behavior. But aside from that, if you're just preparing properly, there's definitely a satisfaction from coming from even the happy accidents along the way, things you learned that you didn't think you were going to learn, stuff that was actually a challenge that you hadn't prepared for but you managed to get through. Those are the kind of things that really kind of make those results satisfying.
Do you intentionally seek inspiration, like through books or through documentaries or anything?
Not intentionally, but just I'll be reading a book or an article or seeing a film, and somebody will use a word that resonates on some level, and I go, ooh, I'll write the word down. Then I might build something on that word.
So it's
not
just
right now. I mean, could be 2 years from now that I come back to that word.
Right. So it's just following your own curiosity or interests, and that eventually leads you to inspiration.
Right. I mean, if you're into physics and just geometry and general chemistry, there's these structures that are already there in terms of the relationships between numbers and shapes and angles and just molecules, and they're very similar in respect to just emotional experiences, just life experiences, even just the journey from an infant to an elderly person. There's very common angles and structure and commonality between those experiences that can resonate. So if I see a word that for some reason resonates with me at the age of 35 or 40, I write it down right away because most likely there's some kind of geometry or resonance with that word that's speaking to me at this age in this stage of my life that I should pay attention to. So I'll write it down and I'll explore it more to see if it is in fact something that wouldn't be relevant when I was 20, might not be relevant when I'm 60, but it's relevant now. So I'll look at it and I'll build on it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about getting older and the ideas that you come across. These ideas are sort of cross-referencing with these other experiences that you've had in your life up to this point now, and now it resonates. Now it makes sense.
Right.
Whereas at 21, it didn't mean a damn thing to you.
Right.
A documentary on a guy making sushi when you were 21 would be like, what the fuck am I watching?
Right.
But when you're 41, it's like, oh, okay, this guy is
now I
kind
get
of
it.
obsessed with this art. There's something to this.
Right.
This guy's making swords. Look, he's making this. He's folding the metal. I watched a whole documentary on this guy making traditional style samurai swords and the incredibly intensive, laborious process involved in folding steel, hammering it down, folding it, hammering it down. Fascinating shit.
Yeah.
And that, like everything else, it's all just
And there's no skipping any steps in that.
impossible.
Like weaving a rug properly.
Yeah, making your own fucking clothes out of thread.
Yeah.
Weaving threads together. Like they had to do that. That's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way. I watched this documentary on indigenous tribes, Inuit tribes, creating fishing nets, and that it would take them a year often to create one net. A fucking year.
You better have a couple already made.
Yeah, you have to have a couple already made, and that's the way you're eating.
Yeah.
That's the way these fucking people are going to eat. It goes back to those subsistence shows that I'm absolutely fascinated with. There's this one that I've been watching now. It's called Life Below Zero, and it's just these different families or individuals who live up in Alaska, and they go from one to the next and follow these people. And this one tribe that's a man and a woman, and the woman is a native Inuit woman, and the man is American from the lower 48, and they have children together. And, they've lost family members because they fell through the ice and died. This is real shit. This woman they're walking across the ice and they're like knocking holes into the ice to make sure that it's deep enough for them to walk, and they're with their children, and then they're going to put this net down underneath this ice and feed it to each other on the other side of the river, and they're going to catch fish, and that's how they're all eating. And there's no other way to eat. And this is what they do. And that's their life. And there's something about it that's so fucking terrifying to you.
That just shut me down.
Yeah.
That sounds cold.
Oh, it's fucking cold as shit, man. Well, this woman had lost 2 family members. She'd lost one of her sisters and I think one of her brothers, or maybe a cousin or something like that, fell through the ice.
I was just going to reach for a sweater.
Yeah, it's wild shit, man. But to them, that's life. That's what they do. That's what they're doing. That's their existence. They're laughing while they're doing it, and everybody. I guess people just adapt and get used to it. But there's also this like intense spiritual connection with their food that way. When they're pulling these fish out of this water and they're grabbing hold of it and making sure it doesn't fall back under the ice, like there's this intense connection between this animal, this creature that they just caught that we don't really ever get. And when they eat that animal, there's also this intense feeling of satisfaction that goes with that this subsistence living. It's very, very, very intense, man. Very intense.
We've lost touch with that because we have so much available to us, no matter where we look.
Yeah.
We've got, food, clothing, shelters pretty much readily available. We've gotten a little lazy on that kind of stuff.
A lot lazy. And I think it's a lot like what we were talking about Los Angeles. Los Angeles is too goddamn easy. There's no weather. It's no weather. It's simple. Go to the supermarket. Everything's spelled out for you. Soft life. Soft life creates soft people. We got to figure out a way to fix that. What's the way, dude?
Yeah. Reset.
The only way, I think, is for people to figure it out on their own, to be inspired by people who have figured that out.
This marble is way smarter than we are. So when it decides that there's any even, if the kids get a little too cocky, it'll toss a few tidal waves or toss a few meteors at it just to reset. It'll just reset, and you'll go back to having to figure out what to do with your time, not having your PDA.
Yeah. I've always wondered if that's what it did with the dinosaurs. If the Earth looked at the situation and was like,
those
God,
are too big.
This is a mess. No one's going to figure that out. No one's going to stop that. They're stupid as fuck, and they don't have to get smart. They kill everything with their face. They weigh 50,000 pounds apiece.
Right.
All right. You know what? It's time to throw an eraser their way.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's probably the case. Eventually we'll, something like how dependent we are on just everything digital and electrical. Just a simple, naturally occurring, electromagnetic pulse will just fucking ruin people's lives.
Yeah, one big fat solar storm that erases everybody's Kindle.
Yeah. Done.
And go try to find a book now. 100 years from now, try finding a book.
Yeah.
Books would be like records. It would be like trying to find vinyl today.
I make vinyl.
Do you?
Oh yeah, everything.
A few people do, right?
Yeah.
It's still pretty common.
We try to do every. There are only a couple of things I've released with Puscifer that haven't come out on vinyl because they were just digital. But pretty much everything, even the remixes we'll do vinyl for it too.
Well, there's a weird push now for not even just a digital copy of something, but in the cloud, to leave everything in the cloud. Like, have you seen these new Google Chromebooks? They barely have a hard drive.
Yeah,
everything's in the cloud.
Right.
You're accessing your data.
And I'm so like, and I'm not being like grandpa trying to hang on to his his Betamax or 8-track tapes or anything like that. I mean, I honestly just I keep, when I download stuff off iTunes, I have like a hard drive, and I just can't let go of the idea of like just deleting it all and getting it later when I want it. Because, I mean, are we really going to watch those CSI Miami episodes again? Probably not.
Probably not, but you feel better if they're sitting in a
because I paid
metal
for them.
box.
I paid for them, so
desk.
why don't I have them somehow near me?
I'm not willing to accept the idea that everything's in the cloud and that it's secure either. That's the other thing. I mean, they want you to put all your photos in the cloud and contacts in the cloud.
That stuff I was like, nah.
Yeah, I don't believe
Think
you.
about it before you print this photo out. Fuck you. What if I'm not going to have this photo if something crazy happens like that and it's lost?
Yeah, and also the latest revelations that the NSA tapped into the Google Cloud and basically accessed everything that was up there, which is, Google's all pissed off. But come on, you didn't see that coming? Aren't you guys at the front of the line? Don't you know what's possible
Person
and not
of Interest.
possible?
You seen that show yet?
No, what's that?
I've seen it before.
Like that one?
What is it?
It's everything you're talking about. Like, it was a show that just started, a couple seasons ago, like maybe the third season, I think now.
Ben from Lost is on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's all about him having been the engineer of this computer that was predicting national threats. And it takes everything. It takes every camera. It'll access any camera that has, that's in the system. The cameras on your phones, every microphone, and it puts together all of this data, looking at all the digital information, and predicts like national threats. But the trick, the whole trick of the story is like nobody really knows about this thing at all. It's so self-contained that it inserts this information into studies, or when they're looking at somebody.
That was two weird people. That was Ben from Lost and Jesus. That was Jim Caviezel.
Yeah.
The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
That fucking nutty dude. That dude thought he was Jesus. Is that Candy Alexander in the back? No way.
Benjamin Button's mom.
Oh, okay. Wow. So good? You recommend this?
It was funny because like everything about what the show is, all of a sudden came out with all this, all this NSA spying. They're like, that's what they're doing already. So this show is like kind of being a cutting edge thing, like going, oh, there's a supercomputer doing all this stuff, and they're like looking through the cameras and they're gathering all the information, and all of a sudden you go, no, they're doing that right now. Like this is not a stretch. This is not a supernatural show. This is like actually happening.
Well, it went from being something that a guy like Alex Jones would rant and rave about to the reality of the day, and it happened within like a month.
Right.
You know, I mean, everybody sort of just realized, like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
everything you've ever emailed somebody actually is somewhere in a database.
Mm-hmm.
That is the facts. That's the world that we live in now. This isn't science fiction anymore.
That off-color photo you sent me.
Shh, dude, I told you that wasn't real. Does that freak you out? What do you think this is going to lead to? This dissolving of privacy.
I don't know. Part of me says like I'm not really that important that I'm too worried about anybody looking at what I've got. The government like sifting through my crap. There's nothing of.
Yeah, I agree in that personally, but I also see it as something that's very different than I think what people are realizing. I think everybody's worried about their personal privacy, and people are worried about not just their personal privacy, but the government being able to access their personal privacy and to be able to look into their photographs and read their emails. And I get all that. But I think that ultimately what we're dealing with is a dissolving of boundaries between people and information, and that it's going to be there's going to be some breakthrough one day, whether it's some ability to read minds or some new way of connecting people, some new way of separating boundaries. That's going to make this seem like a joke. That this is just basically one more step in this never-ending trend of a dissolving of boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know. The other side of me is like, don't be looking at my emails. I don't. That's just my personal stuff, and there's nothing of interest there for you. I think I've done my part for society. Why are you looking at my bung?
Yeah. I think, the people that are doing it too, that's one of the weirdest things. Like this Edward Snowden thing, when it came out, it was, they were trying to discredit him. And they're like, this high school dropout, Edward Snowden. And you're like, wait a minute, man. Didn't you guys hire him? Like, you're making fun of him now, but
right.
This is your fucking employee, man. And he's telling everybody that he had access to everybody's email. Not just encrypted, but could actually fucking read them. It wasn't just metadata. He could actually go and read your emails.
Right.
And he was a high school dropout?
Right.
Like, who else is working for you guys?
Right.
Like, who gets these jobs? How do they get these jobs? Like, the questions are just leading to this weird ultimate reality, which is that the trend seems to be across the line, this dissolving of boundaries between people and ideas and people and information. And then eventually everyone's going to have access to everything. It seems
right.
that
and
is
again,
the
I
trend.
think that's, well, I get caught up in the idea of like, well, maybe this is part of some, this might be just our tendency to do things. This is what we do to control people, just through the ages, power, power wants more power, but at some point you have to wonder, like, so is that choice and the dominant, whoever's in charge, if that's a tendency of whatever we are, whatever makes us up, is that an extension of what? Again, going back to the marble, is that what the marble wants? Like,
right.
Is that in some way is that consciousness just trying to sort some things out and take us to the next step? You know what I mean? I have no answers to that. I'm just saying.
Of course not.
I started asking those questions of like, okay, so how would I, if I was David Koresh, how would I rationalize that perspective? So think like a crazy person who, comes up with some awesome rationalizations to justify the actions, and then try to go the other way, like try to feel like, be more like the paranoid, opposite, defensive, reasonably defensive person who wants to be like wants to know why. What the fuck do you need to see in my emails? I don't understand why that's important to you.
I try to look at it as someone who's analyzing the human beings as a complete alien outsider, looking at us collectively as a group, which is what we move as a group. We act as a group. And I would say, well, look, here's this thing that works collectively to make technology, but thinks it's an individual. They all think that they're individuals, but essentially all they're doing with their manic desire to acquire goods and to acquire material possessions, what they're really doing is just pushing innovation because they need the biggest, baddest, newest, craziest. They constantly need the latest and greatest. They're pushing for these innovations, and these innovations are constantly within 3, 4, 5 months. The exponential increase of these things is making every new step far more powerful than any step before it, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. It's happening exponentially, and I don't even think the creatures even realize they're doing it.
The periods, as McKenna had put it, the periods between novelty and normality are it's like a hum now. It's not even a peak and valley anymore.
Yeah, McKenna described it as a funnel. That if you spun a quarter around the top of the funnel, it would take a long time to go all the way around the circle. Right. But as it gets lower and lower, it's getting faster and faster and faster and faster until it reaches what he thought would be a point of ultimate novelty. But he thought it was going to be December 21st, 2012. But I think he's a dude. He's a guy.
Right.
At the end of the day, as brilliant as he was, as fantastic as his mind was, he's still just a person with an idea. And we grab ideas sometimes and ride those bitches right into the rocks.
But if you look at those those beautiful chaos equations that kind of make those cool kind of paisley looking things, but you look really close and you see the detail becomes
fractals, Mandelbrot set.
Yeah. So if you look at that. When we get down to the bottom of that funnel and you're looking close enough, there's a deeper funnel. And it has just as much detail as the funnel above it. So,
and he might ultimately have been right in some sort of a way that December 21st, it might not have even been that exact day, but that era, the era between 2012, 2013, which is the era we're living in and experiencing right now, it might ultimately be this new opening for this new future. And this, what we're talking about, where there's that TV show or the revelations about the NSA, that could be just the first steps in opening up this new door of perception, this new door of reality.
Right.
Yeah, we're living in strange times, man.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it makes a person, when I'm trying to write songs or trying to make this wine or doing whatever, writing, doing comedy bits or whatever. It almost makes it feel weird. You almost feel kind of in an odd, self-conscious way of what am I doing? You go to a show and you see the dude up there dancing around in front of the people that are watching him dance around, and look at you dancing around. It just feels so fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's such a weird relationship of such a show and tell kindergarten thing, and when when you say a word enough times it sounds weird.
Yeah.
That, when I look at that and I think about it like that, like repeating the word to the point where it doesn't make any sense anymore, that thing just seems so strange standing. So, and I'm going to imagine most people at some point in their career, whatever it is they're doing, they all of a sudden kind of go, what the fuck am I doing? What is this? What is this thing I'm doing?
Yeah, if you're paying too close attention to ballet, if you're locking into a ballet, you can enjoy it if you're in the moment and you're just appreciating the movements. But if you look at it too closely, then you start to step back and pull back and look at it in the perspective of this planet spinning 1,000 miles an hour in a circle around this gigantic nuclear explosion. And you're like, look at this asshole in tights just throwing his body through the air. This is so preposterous.
Yeah.
Why does anybody give a fuck whether or not you can sing the words to your play?
Right.
My wife was taking Spanish or Italian, rather, and one of the things that she did in her class was they took everyone to an opera. So we went to an opera. And so we're sitting there with the rest of the people in her Italian class watching this opera. I'm like, this has got to be one of the dumbest fucking ways to entertain people I've ever seen in my life. You're singing in this language that nobody understands. Everything is like, everyone falls in love immediately. So I can't buy it.
Right.
You know, there's no reason why these people are in love with each other so quickly. Like this,
Right.
they're ready to die. Like this is preposterous. Like this is made in an era when people didn't have books. Like they didn't, they bought into this because they were dumb as shit. But yet here we are, you know, 21st century.
Yeah, and it seems absurd, as it would if anybody coming here from some different galaxy walking in and seeing, a stand-up comic or a band playing on a stage, or a person like getting up so early in the morning to make bread. I know that's food. I guess that makes more sense. But like,
how about to make wine?
Yeah, I mean, you always kind of take it out of perspective. Like somebody comes to this culture, and then there's this thing where you stick rocks in your ear, and that's like this thing you do. And there's like, oh, there's better rocks than other rocks that you stick in your ear, and then people start stumbling around and falling, bumping into a wall. Like, okay, so you pick up a rock and you put it in your ear, and there's different kinds of rocks that feel different and give you different effects. And there's certain rocks that are really expensive, and some that you can just pick up and stick in your ear. But you just basically bump into a wall afterwards, and that's cool, right? Yeah. Okay. There you have it. Good luck.
Yeah.
It just seems so absurd when you kind of take the words and replace them with other objects or things, wine, food. I mean, food is food, but like singing a song.
Yeah, and there's some things that to the people that participate in them are life itself. It's almost, one of the things that I do, I've done since I was a young man is play pool. I play I played in tournaments, and I play like at a just below professional level, and to people that play pool, no, that's a weird word that only gets used it only gets used outside of pool. Shark actually in pool is a negative term, meaning someone who distracts you while you're shooting. They try to shark you.
Okay.
Like if you were shooting, I was like, "Wait, come on, man, you ain't gonna make this shot." If I was fucking with you while you were shooting, that's called sharking someone. Okay. It's actually poor form, and it never happens in tournaments with the highest level guys. They never do that. But my point was that to the people in that world, pool's everything. I mean, to watch the great matches from going from tournament to tournament, nowadays they're watching them streaming on the internet, whether it's through pay-per-view venues or whether it's through some people set up cameras at various tournaments. Mm-hmm. But to a person who has no connection to that world, it's idiotic. You're watching these fools. There's the table never changes. The 6 holes remain in the exact same spots. And it's just about which way the balls roll around. Like, who gives a fuck? Right. Nothing changes outside that table. I mean, this is the microcosm of microcosms, man. I mean, it's a fucking table.
Right.
It doesn't even move. It's level. It doesn't even move. It's just a matter of balls colliding, and that interests you.
Right.
But to the people that are involved in it, it's everything.
Or a person who goes through that kind of process of self-discovery. You did something and that went in the hole you wanted it to go in. And you've had that positive reinforcement and that encouragement from that, from that behavior, then you follow it more because like you got some kind of accolades either from yourself or from someone around you. So you start pursuing that thing, and it has more about your ego developing in terms of like the praise that you got for doing that thing.
Yeah.
So so you end up, you can see how things get to that level. Watching your English footy. I was never a footy fan until I had somebody kind of walking me through what was happening, and then I recognized something, and I was patted on the back for recognizing this thing that I still don't have any fucking idea what I was talking about, but I'm watching it more because I want to see where this goes. And you're like 6 total goals tops, and that's what we're watching here.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, but at the same time, now that I've got sucked into the rabbit hole, I completely enjoy what that is, and there's entire You know, there's probably a bunch of English dudes right now outside of the studio ready to kick my ass for even mentioning that might not be something that's interesting. You know, like there's like a fury that goes
Well, at least you
along
didn't
with
call
that.
it soccer.
I did not do that. No,
Yeah.
I would not go that.
They'll fucking scream at you. It was football before football. They have a point. They do have a point. But yeah, it's that same thing. It's like that seeking higher truth in whatever discipline it is, whether it's the discipline of football or winemaking or music making or jokes or jujitsu. Those microcosms, those worlds that exist sort of wholly on their own and are very difficult to appreciate by people standing outside of them. It's a very fascinating aspect of human beings.
So I guess going back to what you were asking about the Puscifer DVD, how I can the flexibility of everything that we do, I guess that's kind of what that is me and the guys that I work with realizing how absurd some of the things are that we do anyway with our other projects or with this project. But we do it anyway because we're just really enjoying. We're in the rabbit hole. We enjoy seeing how far we can take a particular absurd obsession with something.
And that's absolutely what I loved and appreciated about it. Besides the fact that it was funny and beside the fact that the music was good, I loved and appreciated the fact that I could tell that this structure was wholly your own. This was your own. You just decided to do it this way.
Right. And I don't know if you saw some of the shows that we normally have table and chairs that we set up at the front of the stage. Depending on the show, there will be different kinds of tables and chairs. But we always have like some wine and some stuff on stage because we have friends that have either opened for us or are coming down to see us or are actually playing in this particular band that while they're not doing anything, they sit down and have a glass of wine on stage and at the front of the stage with us. And we've done a lot of shows like that where we've had 2 drummers and 2 bass players and a couple extra guitar players, and then like that rhythm section just sits down for 5 songs and just having wine and cheese at the front of the stage, just kicking it, and then they get back up and do it because it just feels more casual. Even Karina Brown will sing a couple songs, and I'll sit down and just kind of watch the show from the stage.
Is that something you saw someone else do, or is just decided to do it that way?
I don't know that I've seen anybody do it. I'm sure that has to have been done at some point.
Right.
But I just feel like and I've actually I've been trying to put this other show together with no luck, where we have several bands kind of come up and do a very similar thing, but they play 4 songs and then they sit down and maybe there's some kind of segue where one of those guys is playing with that other band and then like a band does 4 songs or 5 songs, and they sit down and the other guys come back up. So you just keep rotating, rather than doing your whole set and like, here's who I am and this is what I do. just kind of, do it almost like a very well-rehearsed rehearsal,
Yeah, a very well-rehearsed rehearsal. Like, not the final performance, but like a week before it.
A little glimpse into what it was, a little bit of the chaos of those guys getting up there to do their next 3 songs. And it's not like them in their rhythm and in their element of like, start to finish, this is our set.
Right,
This is more like, we're going to get up and do these 3 songs. And then we kind of have to, and it's not like, some guys have to get up, full-on boner to go do their set and, they do the whole thing and, we fucking nailed it, man, or whatever that is. But just the idea of like getting up and performing those songs in a couple of ways and putting them and putting us in an uncomfortable, unfamiliar environment that kind of helps us just look at it again and re-enjoy what we remember doing when we started doing it in a way. So,
fuck yeah, dude.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, I love it. That's exactly it, man. If you could find that, that's a honest energy. That's and an honest form of expression too, because you're showing the whole thing. You're showing the underbelly. You're pulling the curtain back. And then you're still.
But if done right, it's not necessarily the underbelly. It's a show in and of itself that has depth and movement and passion and uncertainty and fear and all the real stuff that comes along with a movie.
Yeah. And
or is within the songs you're hearing. There's all that stuff is built into each one of those stories. Usually there's some form of conflict within that song. That's why they wrote it.
Yeah. And in seeing that preparation, it makes you appreciate the final product even more so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's badass, man. When are you are you touring right now? Like, what's
Just got done with Harvest. Doing a lot of writing, training jiu-jitsu. Well, I was till I hurt my hand. So
you say you sprained it? You think?
I had my coach in St. Louis fell on it. Well, me. I was going the wrong way. It's totally my fault. I was going the wrong way, pushing the wrong way, and I had my hand out the wrong way, and he went the other way, and like his whole body like landed on my hand. It went. I could hear like popcorn.
Did you get an MRI or anything?
This happened 4 hours ago.
Doesn't look that bad.
Yeah.
I think you'd be okay. Yeah, I see some swelling.
Yeah. So I had the poor guy on the plane. I'm like using a puke bag to go, can I get some ice? Like icing my arm on the plane coming here.
Do you think the bone's cracked?
I don't know. I have no idea. I had to come do this fucking podcast instead of go to the
Dude, I
doctor.
hear you, man. I know what it's like. I got to get up in 4 hours and go to the airport.
Well, I mean, the good news is I'm getting, Kim Say is doing a tattoo, some tattoo work on me. So I'm actually kind of out of the training game for a minimum of like a week or so anyway, because I gotta let the thing heal.
What are you getting done?
I'm getting more on my my Arizona Rattler.
Oh, wow. Is this a guy who's doing this in California?
No,
or?
Kim Say.
Kim Say.
You don't know Kim?
No.
Kim's work?
No.
How dare you?
I how dare you a lot.
She.
Yeah. Where's she?
Now I'm gonna forget the name of her.
How do you spell her last name?
Saigh.
Saigh?
Kim. And Sean Barber.
Oh, wow. She's wild work, man.
Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. And so what town is she in again?
She's in L.A.
Memoir tattoo.
Memoir. That's the one. That's the word I was looking for. I was going to say heirloom, but that's my friends that make food.
Wow.
Memoir
Beautiful.
tattoo.
And where's that at?
It's in kind of the Hollywood area. I think on Beverly.
Wow. She's got some fucking amazing work.
Yeah, she's got some skills to pay the bills. And Sean's work is awesome, too.
That's another art form that over the last, say, 2-3 decades has really come into its own in a very strange way that didn't really exist before.
Right. And again, when you step back from it, you go, what are you doing? You're drawing on yourself. What the fuck's your problem? Go fucking get a pad of paper and just, draw a little bit on it. And then when you don't like it, you draw another one. But no, but then I get caught up in the just the art of tattooing. And like you said, it's come so far, and just people are so passionate about it and do such good work now. It's no longer, Tasmanian devils and shit. It's for real.
Yeah, I've had both of my sleeves done by the same guy, Aaron Delavadova from Guru Tattoo in San Diego. And Guru Tattoo is one of those cool shops where they're all artists, they're all creating these weird pieces of art when they're not painting. They're doing, or they're not doing tattoos. They're painting. When they're not painting, they're doing some guys sculpt. Some guys, they're fucking around constantly. And this is just one more medium that they express themselves in.
Right.
But the medium of tattooing, I mean, there was the tattoos of, the 1950s and the 1960s, and they have no relation to what is being done today.
Well, in the U.S.,
Yes.
50s tattoos, you always had the
Course.
the Japanese
Yeah.
tattooing. That's just like insane, beautiful stuff.
Insane, beautiful, and ridiculously fucking painful because they're doing that tapping way.
That's part of this one. I got done with that.
Oh, did you?
In Osaka.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So they did it. How long does that take?
Didn't take much longer than the gun. I mean, the guy was fantastic. That was at the chopstick tattoo in Osaka. The guy was just.
So they use
he was fast,
one stick, they hold it there, and the other stick
Yeah.
taps over the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
How precise can they get with that thing?
It's pretty precise.
Can you see that?
Get in there, buddy.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I love the Thai style ones that they're doing too. Like,
Yeah. I'm gonna have him do a dragon. I'm actually gonna talk to
what is it?
Memoir.
What's the number 353? What is that?
That's part of my wine story.
Oh. Can you tell us the story?
Mm-mm.
No? It's a secret?
Yeah.
Really? You have secrets?
It's a little.
The NSA is going to fucking tap in your email, son. Release
yeah.
that secret.
Well, then the secret's out.
And so you had that guy do that with the tapping style?
Yeah, with the bamboo.
I think Tara Patrick had her whole arm done that way. She's like this huge Japanese sleeve. I'm pretty sure she had it done the traditional way, like the full. I don't know what the word is that they do it. It's funny when you go to Japan, you can't show your tattoos. I was at
They
a
brought me a
gym.
robe. I was in the gym.
Yeah, they made me cover up. They told me I have to go back to my room and put a long sleeve shirt on, and I couldn't train.
Because you're a fucking derelict.
Yeah, I tried to let them know I'm not. Yeah, that's her tattoo there. I'm pretty sure that's done the traditional way, or at least part of it is. Yeah, in the Japanese culture, that's not a good thing. That's
No.
it's bad. That's the Yakuza, and it's really interesting because they're the ones who created such beautiful, these beautiful full piece body designs like that. Those body suits that are actually just one long flowing piece of art. That's the origin of that, but it's not respected in the country where it came from.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
I got jumped. Please. So sorry, please. Like,
What did they do?
Maybe put the robe on. Like I had to put like sweatpants on and a top to be in the gym.
Where were you in Japan? Which part?
I think that was in Tokyo.
Yeah, that's where I was too. They were not having it.
Mm-mm.
It's if you have anything on your neck, you have to wear a turtleneck. Like if you have tattoos on your neck, like it's much more discriminatory than it is in America.
Politely discriminatory.
Yeah, they're very polite.
Very polite about it.
Well, they're so polite in such a strange way. It's a really interesting culture. And we went there pretty shortly after Fukushima, where there was this weird feeling of distrust for the government's assessment of the damage and the dangers. And we had this long conversation with this taxi driver because he had to drive us from the venue all the way down to Tokyo, and it was about an hour's drive. And so he spoke pretty good English, and he was saying that for the first time, people are openly starting to question whether or not the government's being honest with them about whether or not they can eat vegetables, whether or not their ground is radioactive and their fish are edible.
Right. And I would have to agree with that. That's starting to happen.
Yeah, that's a scary fucking thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They might have ruined their country. Oh, they might have to bail because it could get worse. I mean, there was another earthquake just last week. There was a 7.3 off the coast of Japan.
Really?
Yeah, it was another one. Didn't cause a tsunami, but it could have. I mean,
Right.
all it takes is the plates go this way instead of that way, and then whoosh, the water's coming.
Yeah.
And if it does, they're fucked.
Yeah, there was a beer that a friend of mine had at his local sushi place, and I went in. I was like, "Hey, can I do you have some of that beer?" He goes, "No." I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, the earthquake." I go, "So it stopped production." He goes, "No, it's gone. The family's gone. The beer is gone. The building's gone. They're gone." It's like, fuck.
Yeah, gone, like never coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see some of the damage. And by the way, that ain't shit compared to some of the fucking tsunamis that they know have hit different parts of the world. That's why I always laugh whenever I drive by Malibu. I was in Malibu today, and I was driving by, and I was looking at these houses they have perched over the ocean, and I was like,
Sleds.
boy, there's no guarantee that's going to be there tomorrow.
No, those are just sleds with
They're
a
basically
kickstand.
playing a long, extended game of musical chairs. And they know for sure one day the music's going to stop, and their houses are going to, for sure, go flying out into the ocean. But
when in Michigan we had all that snow, you'd always have, you could do bobsledding and stuff. Kind of just, sled down the hill. And that was, when I see those houses, that's all I can think of is sledding in the winter in Michigan.
Well, they'll get erased one day. I guess if you're like way up on one of those bluffs, you probably got a pretty good shot at sticking around.
Of not falling completely in the ocean.
But those things have massive landslides too. There was a couple of years ago, there was a news report where these people were waking up in the middle of the night, these horrible cracking noises, and they realized that their houses were sliding off the side of this hill down into this valley. Yeah, it just gives out. You decided to put a foundation in the ground that decided to not be there anymore.
Right.
And it all just in giant, huge 30, 40 acre chunks just slides down and takes these $5 million houses with it. You hear it.
They're not worth $5 million anymore.
Not anymore.
If I may.
I think you're correct. And I think even if you wanted to reclaim that land, boy, it's tough to pinpoint where your house used to be.
Yeah. Good luck with that survey.
Yeah. Yeah, those dudes with the sticks looking through that hole, yeah, they're going to have to do a lot of measuring.
That was me in the military.
Did you do that?
That's what I did.
What'd you do in the military?
We put in grid coordinates for like the tank batteries to pull in, and if you're gonna shove a big missile in a tube and launch it somewhere, you have to know where you are, and to know where it's going, basically. So that's what we would do, is we would put the survey points.
What branch of the military were you in?
Army.
How long were you in for?
3 years. Well, 6 years total.
What year was this?
82 to 85, and then reserves from 85 to 88.
Look at you. That's you.
Ba-boom.
You handsome bastard.
Not a wig. That shit's real, yo.
Did you get anything out of being in the military?
Yeah. Discipline. Yeah, just being responsible. Responsibility. The ability to respond.
Yeah, people that have gone through that, it's very interesting to see. I had a friend who was real lazy and kind of shiftless and never got anything done, and then went away, went to boot camp, came back, and this motherfucker always folded his napkin after that and sat up straight and got shit done. And I was like, wow, they turned this dude around. Like, they really did. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it today, because joining today, you have a high likelihood of either being forced to assassinate someone for the government or finding yourself in a position where you really wouldn't want to be, and
Right.
people are shooting at you that don't like Americans. And unless it's your calling, I wouldn't really recommend it. But goddamn, for some people, it really is a game changer.
I agree. Yeah, and not everyone can make it through it. But a lot of guys that kind of washed out, during that whole basic training.
What made you
process.
join?
College fund for art school.
Really?
Yeah,
Were you pretty convinced that we weren't going to go to war during those times?
completely. I was like, "Ugh, war. I just didn't believe it. And then I got appointed to go. I got through a long process, but basically got handed an opportunity to go to West Point by going to the preparatory school for a year. And got to the end, like when I finally got my appointment to go to West Point, they said basically you have to forfeit your Army College fund to go to art school. And I didn't really go in to be a career military person. I kind of went in to get college funds so I can go pursue the arts. But my behavior was being reinforced as far as the way I was excelling as in the military. So it was very tempting to go, I could be an officer. Let's do that. And then I got to that moment where I had to make that decision. In that moment, I had like 3 hours to check the yes box and accept my appointment, or check the no box and go back into the regular army and then go to art school. And
Wow.
I chose art school. If I had not done that, I would have, provided I made it through West Point, which is not a guarantee. If I'd have made it through West Point, I would have been in the 1st Gulf War as a lieutenant.
Wow. That's fucking crazy.
Gulf War I think they call it.
I had a friend he's a cop, and he was in the Army Reserve, for 20 years and had less than a month to go till he was out for 20 years, and they shipped him to Iraq for a year and a half.
Come again?
Yeah, he was in the reserves. In the reserves during the Iraq War, after September 11th, they just started sending people over there. You were under contract. That's it. It didn't matter if you had a month to go. During that month, you were assigned a year and a half tour of Iraq. And he went not just once. Came back, and they sent him again. They sent him twice. He did 3 years in Iraq when he had less than a month to go.
Damn.
And there was nothing he could do about it. His whole life was thrown into chaos. His relationship, his job, his everything gone.
Yep.
Sorry, you live in Iraq now. You're over there. You're a soldier. I mean, it is a fascinating thing to watch. Like,
Well, at least he made it out alive.
He got lucky. Yeah, he came back different though. I'll tell you that. He came back. You could tell he had seen some shit. There's no avoiding that. I mean, he saw combat duty and wasn't planning on it. So thought he was getting out. Thought he was going home. Thought reserve meant reserve. You know, thought 30 days meant 30 days. Nope. No, it means 2 1.5 year tours, or at least all in total, somewhere around 3 years.
Do you like the beach?
Well, we don't have water, but we got sand. Yeah, I don't know. I guess there's good to be gotten from almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, at least it was a positive
I
experience.
dodged, quite metaphorically and literally dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Wow. That must be something you think about often.
But, I could see how I could have excelled at that and done well done my part in that setting. I have an aptitude for it, and a lot of my friends are law enforcement and military, so I get along with them well. I also have all my, crazy liberal friends that I get along with well, so I think it just would have been, if it was a path that I would have chosen, I would have just done whatever I could do with it.
The law enforcement friends, I bet, understand your friendship with the crazy hippies and liberals more than the crazy liberals understand your relationships with the law enforcement people.
Absolutely.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, God bless them.
God bless them all.
The open-minded liberals.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's not that many of those, are there? When it boils down to it, there's a lot of aggressive progressives.
Yeah, and I noticed that. Yeah, and coming from that background of being, supposedly like the liberal Democrat, it's pretty amazing.
Well, they have this idea, and they think that it's right, and they think that they should violently try to support that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not other people have that idea or not, they think that their idea is correct and their idea is on the right side of history, and so it's something to be violently pursued.
Ba-boom.
Yeah, ba-boom. I don't know. I don't know who's right.
I don't think any of them are.
The truth is in the middle somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Listen, man, I got to go to the airport in, I think, 5 hours.
All right.
So let's wrap this bitch up.
I just came from the airport.
Thank you for doing this, man.
No
I'm
problem.
glad you did. I mean, you literally pulled right up. The car's out front, and if people want to watch the
bags are in the car.
DVD, how can people watch this?
It's coming out on the I think the 26th of November. The What Is Puscifer DVD show live in Phoenix comes out on the 26th, as well as the Perfect Circle box set.
And the
stuff
songs from this, where could they get those?
on that.
Yeah, they're on this DVD.
It'll be released as on iTunes. Probably, I think. Yeah, we're doing this separate. You can actually get the live album off of iTunes, just the songs.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, go get it, folks. And follow on Twitter, Puscifer on Twitter. And there it is, right there. DVD and soundtrack available. What did it say? November what?
26. And as well as the Perfect Circle one as well, live at Red Rocks.
Look at all the Jesus
I know
ties.
this is a good Sunday. We got the documentary guys like.
You can't talk to the camera.
Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to talk
Can't
to
talk
the
to the
camera.
camera.
No, I know. I keep forgetting that.
Did you live in character when you did this?
No, that was I mean, literally that was with Laura and me in that costume. We were like, they came out for the weekend. I'm like, what are we gonna do? And Mike, her husband, was like, just had a new camera he wanted to try out. Using, I think it was the Canon 5D or whatever. He's just trying to let's just get some footage, see what we get. And we just did all that, and we went, did we just do that? Like, no script, just kind of went, well, let's do this. And let's do this. And then, went to actually spent 2 hours in Walmart grabbing stuff just for that day to see what we could come up with costumes. That Halloween shirt and everything was just on a quick trip to Walmart to see what we can come up with.
That was beautiful. You're a beautiful man, Maynard. God bless you and men like you.
Thank you.
Onward. All right, folks, that's it. This ends. We will put all the commercials on it, stick this bitch up on iTunes, and we'll see you on Friday with Dan Carlin from Hardcore History. Big kiss. Mwah.